Hey guys, what is up? It's me, Dylan Vole, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the Arsenal of Bricks. Today, we'll be taking a look at this awesome LEGO Slide Action pistol. Enjoy. And here is the LEGO gun in question. And before we do go on to any of their testing, allow me to give you a brief overview of this LEGO gun. So this LEGO gun is a very simple slide action fixed magazine handgun that uses a feeding system to load in the rounds, very similar to how a real gun would do so. Now, this isn't completely my own thing. I've adapted it off a mechanism by Glasgow Mud. My whole idea was to try and recreate the gun's mechanism and put it into my own creation without using any instructional pieces. I don't think I've done that bad with it, but we'll find out with all the testing. Beforehand, I'm going to quickly show you how to load the weapon. So, you may notice this little bit here. What you need to do is pull down on that and hold it in place. Then what you do is you may notice a small little gap here. You load your round through there. So, case in point, like that. And if you want to load multiple rounds, you're going to have to turn it on its side and slot it in. Mostly due to LEGO being quite finicky in terms of gravity. Once you're loaded, pull the slide. The round should be in chamber, like that. All you need to do now is aim and fire. And now I've quickly shown you how this gun works. It is now time to do the range test. So here we are with the range test, and what we're going to do is we're going to fire 3 rounds down that way, and afterwards we're going to see how far the gun is able to shoot. So, here we are with test number 1. And here we are with test number 2. And here we are with our third and final test. And that was the range test. What we're going to do now is we're going to go down, examine the rounds, and see how far this gun is able to shoot. Here is my analysis of the range test. How well did the gun do? Well, it certainly isn't the best range we've ever had in the accurate and powerful LEGO gun series, but it certainly is one of the most consistent weapons I have ever had built. So, one of our tests came in at around 5 meters 30, which is this one here. This is the one that shot the smallest distance. Second up, not too far, probably at 5 meters 40, is this grey one here. And the third and final one, which came in at around 5 meters 70, is this one here. So as you can see, the gun is powerful. It's not the most powerful gun that I've ever had in the accurate and powerful LEGO gun series, but it certainly is the most consistent, meaning that you can shoot this gun continuously and expect it to achieve similar results. Now, as well as having a good range, this gun can boast about its consistency. However, how consistent is this gun in terms of hitting the target? It'll be time to find that out shortly with the accuracy test, but before we do that, allow me to give you a talk through the details of this LEGO gun. This is a simple slide action LEGO pistol using a simple fixed magazine which takes these 3 wide LEGO Technic rods. here are the inner workings of this LEGO gun, and as you can see, it's actually pretty complex. The gun has many different LEGO components that work together to help the gun shoot rounds. The first thing we're going to talk about is the trigger. Even though it's not the biggest of the components, it's the most pivotal to the gun's performance, because obviously, unless you can fire the rounds at the user's will, a gun's not that useful. So this is a two-piece trigger using two different components connected to each other by gears. The first one is a trigger here that's kept in place and made sure to say it slides forward and backwards rather than move in all different directions with this little piece here. A rubber band is connected to a LEGO Technic pin here, forcing tension to make it go this way. What you can see is as you pull the trigger, this piece here will go down alongside with the connecting gear. And this helps with the operation of the next two components. The first component here being the slide. And what the slide will do is it will slot into the LEGO gun like so. Now, a few features I'm going to talk about the slide here. It is a series of LEGO Technic walls here on this side and this side with bricks on the top and LEGO Technic rods at the very top here. And here is a small groove that will allow rounds to be able to go through in this direction and this direction whilst being blocked from going prematurely. However, the fact that we've used this sort of system will still give room for the rubber band to be able to fit through. You'll know how in a second. And at the top there is a massive groove here. And as you can see, there are a bunch of little bits in the middle of the gun to stop you from being able to move the slide left and right. So let's slot it in right now. And you can't move it left or right. However, you can freely move it back and forwards, something very pivotal to the performance of this LEGO gun. Another feature to it is this little piece. And this little piece, honestly, is one of those weird ones where you slot it in to the LEGO gun like this, wrap it around rubber bands, and I'm going to have to hold the slide to make sure that, of course, the gun doesn't fall apart. And as you can see, this little bit would be used for feeding rounds into the gun, similar to a real weapon. Once it's in place, it will block itself and the round it's holding with enough gap to fit the rubber bands through so that when you pull the trigger, the round can propel out of the barrel. The final feature of the mechanism revolves around loading, and this is where all the pieces really come to shine. The final piece of this mechanism is loading, and the magazine is a fixed one. It's basically a simple magazine affixed to the pistol grip with a pusher part here that pushes the rounds up instead of relying on them being gravity fed like some of our weapons so far. It's also neatly placked away and actually not too uncomfortable to deal with. Loading rounds is very simple. All you need to do, push this thing down, and you notice this little gap. You pop the magazine round in there, and let this thing go as soon as you're happy with the amount of rounds that are loaded into the weapon. Of course, if you want to load more in, because LEGO is finicky with gravity, hold it sideways. What you may notice is this little component. This little component's job is to pull back according to what this feeder does, so that a magazine can be chambered, like so. Find it confusing? Well, I'm going to put the gun together, which is a very simple procedure. All you need to do is pop this thing in, lift this up, pop this thing in, and then push this pin into place so that the gun is securely fixed. Then what you want to do is, you see these Technic pins here? You want to wrap the rubber band attaching the feeder to these two LEGO Technic pins, and then when you pull the trigger, this feeder will stay affixed to the slide. Let me demonstrate this gun working to you properly so you can have a better picture of what's going on. So you pull down on this little bit here, load the round into the gun. Then you push aside, and then this little piece will work its magic now, where the magazine will push the round up. This little piece will pull back so that the magazine round can fit in. And then you can then put the slide into place. The round is now chambered. You aim and you fire, just like so. Hopefully you did get some of that. My explanation wasn't too great in terms of that, but I can't really find a way to describe this mechanism better. Hopefully the showcase clips will help you piece together things you need to know about the mechanism before you go and build something similar to this. Now, of course, because this Lego gun is made out of 90% Technic, I couldn't create the same pistol grip as I usually do. However, this pistol grip is not too bad, quite comfortable. You can fit your thumb on top of the magazine component here if you're right-handed. Sorry, left-handed people. It's not quite as ambidextrous as I wanted it to be, but you can still get a pretty comfortable grip on the Lego gun. It is mostly formed of various different shaped LEGO Technic pieces to try and get that handgun look to it. There's also room for you to attach other stuff to it. Case in point, this little ammunition bag. It's pretty nifty. The best thing about this ammunition bag, and this is one of those corny things you definitely don't need to add to the Lego gun, but it's something I quite fancied adding. This is an explanation as why you might have seen this bag in the shooting montages. I decided to go about designing this Lego gun similar to how I did my survival pistol ages and ages back. And that obviously involved having a little bag for you to be able to easy access ammunition to. It would be more useful if I didn't keep losing my ammunition pieces, resulting in me only having 3, but it allows for easy access, so you can load your rounds very easily from the bag into the gun. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. The final feature is the iron sights, and the iron sights are as simple as day, with this little piece sticking out from the bit where it's blocking the slide, as you may have been able to see in my mech showcase, to the bit on the top which you'll actually see. And the final component is kind of permanently affixed to the gun. You've got these 2 little L-shaped pieces that kind of form the back sights of your iron sight, and you just aim and align your sights up like this. They're pretty simple, but they work alright. If you don't like iron sights, we have attached this little Technic brick on here. As well as helping keep the slide in place, just like all the other parts, you can attach your own attachments onto it. Pretty neat, huh? Honestly, there's not a lot of features to this Lego gun besides the mechanism, telling me that this gun is mostly designed around shooting. Meaning it would be pretty shitty unless it hit the target. Can it do so? It's time to find out. Here it is, accuracy test. Let's go. Can this gun hit these 3 targets? It is now time to find out. Here we are with test number 1. Fail. Here we are with test number 2. Pass. And here we are with our 3rd and final test. Pass. 2 out of 3 pass. Okay, so this gun did fail one of the accuracy tests. Now, was it due to my piss poor aim, or is the gun got a genuine problem with its position? It's time to find out shortly, but before we do, allow me to give you my personal opinion of this Lego gun. So, starting off with the good things, it's got a really decent consistent range. Consistency is very good with this gun. You can shoot it and it'll end up in a similar place as it was last time, which is really good because you don't have to worry about whether the result will be slightly better or slightly worse. There's obviously still a little bit of difference, but that's to be expected. And another really good feature about this Lego gun is, honestly, it's easy to maintain. You can pull some of the Lego weapon apart, like I've shown with the mech showcase. So pull this apart, push the pin around, and you can easily get to the slide on its own, to the bolt on its own, and fiddle around with any components that you need to repair or any rubber bands that you need to replace. Leading me on to another thing, the rubber bands are pretty durable for most of the weapon. It's durable here, part that's blocking the magazine. It's durable on the pusher of the magazine. It's also durable on the trigger. The only bit it's not really durable on is the bolt, but that's to be expected because that's the thing that propels around and shoots it out of the gun. Another really good feature is its usability. Because it's very similar to how a real gun would function, loading it, all you need to do, push this down, load your round in, pop it up top, and then chambering it is exactly the same as what you'd expect if you're familiar with guns in any way, shape or form. Pull it back, push it forward, and pull the trigger. Simple to use. Another really good feature is the grip. For the most part, the grip is very comfortable for something that's made fully out of LEGO Technic. Nice curvage on the back to make sure it's not too rigid on your wrists, and you can kind of maneuver your thumb around the magazine provided you're right-handed. Sadly, this is not ambidextrous. I'll get onto that in a little bit. Final good feature I'm going to be talking about is the attachability. You can put an attachment on here and here. Not as many as some of my other guns, but it's to be expected not to be able to put a lot of attachments onto a pistol like this. My favourite of the attachments is definitely this. It's a very nifty way of storing your ammunition. Okay, yeah, I haven't got a lot of ammunition to put in there, but still, I like the feature. Now that we've gone through the good things, it's time to go on to the bad things. Starting off with what I was talking about just a few seconds ago. Ooh, that doesn't feel so great. Yeah, the grip's not ambidextrous. You can only use your right hand for holding it if you built it like this, or if you put this on the other side, your left hand. So you can only really use one hand or the other, depending on where you put this bit on. Most people will build it differently. Another slightly bad feature is this, I mentioned, wears out very quickly. Only this rubber band. The rest of them work quite well. Another pretty bad feature in terms of reliability is sometimes this gun can misfire. Yeah, so if you load something slightly different, you can get some really funky results, including finding it a little harder to load it into the magazine, finding it a little harder to chamber. Oh, hang on. And then sometimes the round can get stuck into the chamber, especially if you've got other rounds in the gun. It's not always reliable, and that's a shame because it's a pretty good gun. But its slight reliability issues do ruin it a little bit. And if you load a round that's slightly different, case in point, the round I've got in the gun right now, the trigger pull will be harder. You're best off using these rounds and these rounds only within this gun. Otherwise, you're not going to have the best of time using it. Another slight issue that I have in terms of it is also lack of trigger guard. Because it was a new design, I wanted to really focus on the shooting, something that I've never done before in terms of how I've done LEGO guns and implementations. So the pistol grip's trigger guard has been omitted. Shame, but AO. Another feature that's really pretty bad is these sights. Yeah, not so much that they're basic, but they're kind of misaligned. This bit's a little bit taller than the front sight's a bit taller than the rear sight. Not good. The reason why it's like that is for stability in the main gun. I didn't quite have any other like 3-ride pieces. Probably should have had a look and saved some other pieces and had to dig around, but this was one I could find at the time. You can't really change the sights, you can't move the sights because this sight is relying, the bit of the gun that helps with stability is relying on that sight. You've got to keep it on there. So if you are attaching another sight on there, it will be a bit confusing. Not the best implementation on there, but yeah, it's not too invasive. You can get around with the sights. Most of the time I just aim on the side. I'll try and guess where the projectile's going to go. I usually get it bang on during that. And that's probably why I failed one of the accuracy tests, because the sights aren't that great. Final bad feature has something to do with how finicky the magazine is. So, of course, loading one round, simple as day. I can even do it on my side, on the gun's side. Push this all the way down, load a round in. I go to load another round. Oh, what's the problem? Oh, because I've put where you load it lower, you have the problem with dealing with gravity from the LEGO rounds. The only way, honestly, to fix it would be to have a removable magazine, or a magazine where you load from the top. There's not any other way that you can really fix it because, well, projectiles, no matter what, if they've got no force acting on them, they're obviously going to be affected by gravity. One really good way of subverting this, though, is to turn it on its side. You can even turn it that way if you want. But I prefer turning it on its side. Once you've loaded your first round in, push this down, load the next round, and there you go. You're good to go. The only thing is I find it a little weird doing that, but yeah, it's the best possible thing I could have thought of in terms of that. All in all, this gun is pretty good. It's got some amazing features to it, especially with the ease of fixing and ease of maintenance, the realistic, easy-to-use loading mechanisms, and all of that. Great little addition to your LEGO arsenal. However, is this gun consistent in its performance when hitting targets? It is now time to find out with our precision test. Now, is this LEGO gun consistent in performance? It is now time to find out. We have constant starting place for the gun and constant setting place for the target. Test number 1. Pass. Test number 2. Pass. Third and final test. Pass. All 3 pass. And from the precision test, it is clear to see that even though this gun has its flaws, it's got consistent performance not only in the range, but when it comes to shooting at targets. And that is it for this episode of Accurate and Powerful LEGO Guns. Now, if you like the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more, click subscribe. And of course, next time, I'll be showing you one of my Christmas tree decorations. The Christmas tree decoration I'm going to be talking about, though, is this LEGO gun. And there's just something pretty special about this gun. Originally created by the Tiny LEGO Guns channel, Gelotron will be taking a look and a bit of a review of this LEGO gun because, despite the fact that this is so teeny, it shoots. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, keep on building.